Hey guys, Mrhappy here, and today I wanted to do a video about the Behemoth fate. Now this fate is the center of a lot of controversy in the game, and we'll go over that in a little bit, but I wanted to do a video about it just to match the Odin video that I have, to go over the mechanics of the fight, the optimal setup to go with your party, and just how to handle the fate altogether, because it seems there's a lot of confusion about the difficulty of this fate. And in reality, this fate is very, very easy if the people on your server don't panic and run around and make things chaotic. So first, we're going to go over the mechanics of the fight, and I'm going to go over them here while we're dealing with phase 1 of the fate, and that is the first mechanic. This is a two-part fate. The first part is here down below the Behemoth Dominion, and the next part will take place up top, but there isn't much a difference between the fight. This one will end at approximately 40%, 50%, around that area, and until then, but the mechanics are largely the same. So we're just going to go over those really quick before the fate ends. So all of his auto attacks are cleave, so standing in front of him if you're not a tank is not recommended. And most of his moves are frontal cone moves, so he has the cleave. He also has a move called Trounce, which will do massive damage to anyone hits. Even as a tank, you do not want to get hit by this. Lesser gear tanks will probably get hit for about 6 to 8k by Trounce. I've seen that when he was first brand new and he had just come out and people couldn't really see him. So not only that, but he also does a move called Thundercloud, I believe it's called. He just summons a bunch of lightning in front of him. Hits for sort of a box-like cone. It's not a direct cone out at like 60 degrees. It's actually more of a box, so even if you're more to the left or right of him, it can hit you. There it was right there. This will do moderate damage to your tank. It will also stun him, so you really need to watch the heals on him and watch the enmity, because as soon as a tank loses enmity on Behemoth, everything goes wrong, especially if it's a tank in a bad position. So you really want to try, as a server, to just keep one tank, and if you see somebody is not having problems, don't try and pick it off of him. It could just ruin it for everyone. So Faith complete right here, but we're still going to go over some of the mechanics, and I'll point them out as we get to them in the later parts. Just so you know, I'm going to do a little cut right here. Because my Final Fantasy XIV actually crashed at this point. But while we're running up here, Behemoth has to transition between his first phase and his second phase, and he has to run up this hill. But it seems when players start hitting him, he actually starts turning around. He doesn't swing at anybody, but he turns around, and it delays how long it takes for him to get up to this point. So leave him alone. Leave Behemoth alone, or it's just going to take even longer to get to this phase. So once you're here, the mechanics don't really change too much. He does have a back kick also, so standing behind him can trigger it, and it can knock you back pretty far. But it's, again, nothing too significant. You shouldn't be getting hit by it. You should try to be on his sides at all times. So while you're on his sides, the tank is dealing with Thundercloud. He's dealing with Trounce. He's dealing with a frontal cleave move. He's also dealing with a knockback. It knocks back quite a distance, and it can throw off your positioning on Behemoth quite a bit. Just don't panic. Let the tank handle it. Just let him reposition yourselves, and watch out for the one final move that Behemoth does until he hits 1% HP. And it's a tornado. Now, in phase 1 of the fate, he only does 1 tornado, but in this phase of the fate, he actually does 2 of them, and they tend to go to his sides and hit the DPS and the healers and whatnot. So it's highly recommended that you try and get vision of Behemoth and always watch the ground and be ready to move. You can get pretty gibbed by these because he picks anybody on his hate target on his sides. So you can really, really get destroyed by this move, especially if Behemoth is invisible. As you can see, just like with the Odin fate, he does occasionally go invisible just because there are too many characters on the screen, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, because that makes all of these strategies a lot harder to execute as a server. As an 8-man party, Behemoth would probably be a pushover other than the finale, but as a server with all these characters on the ground, dead or not, it just makes it a lot harder to deal with this fight. So those are all the mechanics until 1%. Right before he dies, he'll use Meteor. I survive it with about 300 HP usually. I've seen people die to it a lot though, and it is meant as a final execution move to see if you can survive. It's not that big of a deal though, because at that point you've already won the fate. So now that we've gone over the mechanics, you're probably wondering how you even get to this point on Behemoth. How do you even get to the point where you can see him, tank him, heal the damage he does, DPS the whole time? It's not easy, and as you can see, it's so not easy because I also can't see that I'm about to there's a tornado to my left. I don't see the other tornado. It's actually directly under him where that shadow flare is, and I got hit by it apparently. So while I'm dead, I can just continue talking about the fight. So while you're doing all this, it's gotta be, you gotta figure out how to get gold. Now, getting silver's okay. You get one behemoth horn, which you can use to trade in for a number of items. The items aren't that good, but it is something to say, hey, I beat behemoth and I'm really cool. So what are the tricks to getting gold on this fight? Because while I haven't gotten gold, I do have friends who have gotten gold. So while what you do individually matters a lot towards getting gold, your party contribution pays a lot into it. So your first tip is you really want to get a party of 8, specifically members of your free companies or your link shells that will organize and work together to try and control the behemoth. If you and your tanks and your healers and your DPS have control of behemoth's positioning and the limit break gauges and the healing, then you can really control your odds at getting gold. As soon as he starts getting kited around by a different party member, your chances of getting gold diminish significantly. It doesn't matter how many people you raise. It doesn't matter if you go to a class like an archer instead of bard and you start raising people. The odds of you getting gold when you don't know what's going on are significantly lower. You want to always stay in combat. You want to always be doing something. You want to always be contributing, because we have our tank tanking him. We have our healers healing the tank. We have our DPS DPSing him. We have our healers DPSing him in their spare time because we have 3 of them. And we still only get silver at the end of this. It's unbelievable. We got gold in the previous one, but gold in the first one doesn't matter at all. So it's really down to this. Can you get gold on the final Behemoth Fate? So what are all the things? What party setup would I recommend for getting gold on this? 1 tank, 2 healers, the rest are DPS. If you can squeeze in only bringing 1 healer and getting another DPS, that is even better. The only reason I recommend 2 healers is because your party can get more contribution if your healers who aren't busy healing the tank can either A, also DPS, or B, raise people. Raising people is a form of contribution. However, it is weighed very insignificantly. So I really recommend just bringing as many DPS as your party can squeeze in, as long as you guys have control of him and just going to town. If you see somebody else has control of Behemoth, you may be able to switch to 7 DPS and a healer, and that will also significantly increase your chances of getting gold. But if as soon as he starts getting kited around, chaos. Because as you can see here, dodge a tornado to the left, tornado spawn to the right, I dodge that because I can actually see it. Because Behemoth is being tanked in a still position, we can predict all of his moves, dodge them, and kill him as a server in a much quicker manner. Same goes for Odin. Holding him still is much more efficient, but Behemoth, it's a lot more difficult because he is much more capable of killing everybody in his path if anything goes wrong with his positioning. So now that all that's out of the way, you have your setup, you have the DPS, you have the tank, you have the healer. What else could you possibly do to get gold? Well, you have to get here early. That is by far the most important version. If you do not get here by the time he spawns, odds are, if you aren't controlling him and nobody else is, he's going rampant and just killing people, which really, really lowers your chance of getting gold. But other than that, this fate is very, very easy. It's just a matter of somehow optimizing, it's somehow bypassing all of the problems with the fate. Because as you can see right here, every time he does the knockback and he dispositions the tank, it really, really, really makes it difficult to go for the gold. That's the bottom line. It's just not easy. And we're going to finish him right here in about maybe the next 30 seconds. But that is all there really is to this fate. So hopefully as a server, you can communicate with everybody, let them know to group up, work towards their goal, work together as a server really, because Behemoth is not hard. He's not nearly as hard as people make him out to be. And trust me, you'll get the gold, you'll get your Behemoth horns, and you'll get your vanity items, or if you're looking for them for actual upgrades, you'll get those too. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this Behemoth video, getting to see the fate where it's looked. By the way, it's in Coerthus, in case you're wondering. I should have probably mentioned that. And here's the meteor move right here, as you'll see in about 3, 2, 1. Kill everyone. There it is. He's dead. Pretty much wipes almost everyone out. And then we get silver. And we all yell at each other, "Oh, silver! Come on! We tanked him the whole time! We healed the whole time! We DPS'd the whole time!" and it's true. It was kind of didn't make sense. But Fate's over, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, favorite, subscribe, and share for more Final Fantasy XIV information. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. You can ask me questions about the game, ask me questions about macros, theory crafting, anything. I love all those questions. It's much easier to reach me on Facebook and Twitter than it is on YouTube, so I highly recommend using those avenues instead of YouTube. It usually takes me a few days to get back to YouTube messages. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Until next time, though, take care.